Hey everybody, it's Peanut Butter Kong. In this video, I'm going to be going over my stats for dungeons. One interesting thing is that I recently just got level 25 in dungeons for Mage, so if anyone's curious what kind of stats you might need to get to hit this milestone as well, stay tuned. Also, even if you're just curious how your stats look compared to the top stats, this will help you compare your rankings. It'll help you look at your damage, your time, etc. And keep in mind, I've largely been Mage, so the damage for some other classes are going to be a bit different, but I'll help note and detail out where appropriate. Alright. So just some context to begin with. I am a level 25 Mage, mainly, a healer 19, and Berserk 18, Archer 17, and a tank 17. For some context for viewing these numbers here, floor 5 hasn't come out yet, so this is as of floors 1 through 4. I think floors 1 through 4 are totally suited for the first 25 levels. As you approach level 25 and 24, maybe 22 even, you're going to find floor 4 much easier than when you initially approached it. So first up is the entrance. As you can see, with 19 watcher kills and being in the top 2.3%, really means that no one goes back to play the entrance. You should be able to beat the level in about 2 minutes to 3 minutes, maybe even much faster for any higher level players going back to this level after some time. Like most people, I haven't played this level all that much, as there is very low XP and no collection awarded. For this level, due to the low significance, we are moving along. Alright, for floor 1, if you have 101 Bonzo kills, you'll be in the top 5% of people. Notably, 100 Bonzo kills gives you the golden Bonzo head from the collection. Interestingly, if you compare that to my watcher kills at 107, being in the top 4.6%, you could probably make an educated guess that as you start moving beyond 100 Bonzo kills, you'll start significantly climbing the rankings if that is your thing. Note, many people's goal after this is probably 250 kills to get the Recombobulator, which you'd likely have another huge drop-off point to climb the rankings. For time, I was able to get a sub 3 minute run. I did do a run on this floor as a higher level, so keep this in mind. This is possible, but an earlier run might look like the 3 to 5 minute time period. If you were to do this floor with a higher level group, I think you could certainly beat the floor even faster, probably approaching the 2 minute mark. I think they could certainly improve the S plus time, as this was done for me when everyone first started dungeons and knew none of the secret locations. For damage, the class I really played on this floor was healer or mage. As you might be able to guess, the mage most damage has a higher threshold compared to healer, having almost double the damage but in a lower ranking spot at the top 5.7% compared to the top 3.8% for healer. Since people will carry others on floors, I do like looking at the total enemies killed as a good metric in how you play a floor and how proficient you are. As an example, my Bonzo kills are the top 5.1%, but the total enemies killed are in the top 2.8%. Now, if your metrics aren't better like this for total enemies killed, maybe you could have played as a healer class and you typically do all the puzzles for your team. So keep this in mind as an exception to what I just said. For floor 2, if you have 100 Scarf kills, qualifying for the Golden Scarf head, you'd be in the top 2.2% of people. Now, for my fastest time of 2 minutes and 18 seconds, I think that is quite fast. In order to get a time like this, you'd likely have to do this with a higher level group that has progressed naturally beyond this floor. I'm actually quite surprised that most of my damage stats are on top of each other for rankings. I mostly played mage on this floor, and that tells me if I went back and tried some of the other classes, I could probably do a decent amount better than what I have currently. I do find it kind of interesting again that for my total enemies killed, I'm in the top 1%, but my Scarf kills are in the top 2%, suggesting that I am killing a lot of enemies for each of the floors runs that I do. For floor 3, my fastest time of 3 minutes and 44 seconds is good. I say is probably good for a relatively higher level group of people completing this floor. I do think an OP team that is in their mid to high level 20s could probably shave significant time off this mark. From the screen, you can see that my Archer and Berserk aren't highly ranked, but give a good indication for having a damage range in the 15 to 18 million for the top 30s percentile. As you can see, my mage damage of 51-ish million would put someone in the top 3%. So, if you want to have a high damage amount for another class, that would be a good indication. For most enemies killed, that would be 247, or the top 5.5%. And just to note here is on floor 2, I had 212 kills compared to that 247. So the 212 put me on the top 9.4% rather than the top 5.5%. Again, if anyone really wants to manipulate this number, carrying people that are level 1 or 2 who are literally killing no one on the floor and you're just carrying them would be a good way to do so. As you can tell from my below 1000 ranking, I haven't done this. Alright, for floor 4, which is in my opinion one of the most important floors, now as it's the farthest one released, you need about 286 Thorn kills to rank above the 700th place spot. For Watcher kills, I'm at 421, ranking about the 450th position, partly due to the strategy that you die at the boss after killing the Watcher, but not killing Thorn. Obviously, a sizable percent difference between the Thorn and Watcher kills, but since it's already higher ranking on the floor, you'd need many more kills to rank much higher. I like to use these as a metric, since obviously running into someone who has claimed to do 1000 plus kills on this floor already is quite unlikely, especially due to the amount of time this floor takes to complete. As you can see, my time of 4 minutes 11 seconds is my best time. I do think it's a harder time to beat. Things that need to go well is a higher level team that is able to beat the Watcher portion in roughly 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and likely use a Tiger Pet, which would allow at least one double hit from firing the bow once at Thorn, ideally only requiring 2 hits rather than the maximum 4 hits at Thorn. As for my S plus time, I really haven't tried for an S plus run in a long time. This is beatable and would in my mind be something that is an okay time for someone making an earlier attempt of the floor. Chatting a bit about the most damage section, my Archer damage is just about abysmal. I believe it wasn't a full run on Thorn, so keep that in mind as well. Also, I didn't have the bone meringue or appropriate armor, which you'd want to have to be in the top running. I have a pretty similar story for the Berserk, Tank, and Healer, which I was using Mage for the damage and not the true class abilities, definitely making it harder to have a higher damage amount. For total enemies killed, I have about 91,000, which gives me a rank in the top 330. I do want to note the relationship between this and the prior floors is similar, but for a very different reason. In this case, I've been using the 80% method, which basically just means you're dying even before you kill the Watcher, and you die at some point between completing, let's just say at 80% up to 96%. A decent number of other people use this method, thus you could potentially see a player with a very high total enemies killed with a very limited amount of Thorn kills. Just a note, for the most enemies killed at 913, it's a higher ranking, but definitely not among the best. If you wanted to beat this, carrying teammates and effectively not killing Thorn, but just all of his minions would be a good way to boost the stat. Again, people do this to get higher enemies killed, but is really just personal preference. Alright everyone, that covers it for comparing the stats for each floor. Feel free to go back and pause it to compare it to your stats on screen. Leave a comment below, let me know what your stats look like. Do you have a much better time? Have you taken advantage of carrying low-level teammates to get the most damage and kills? It could be a bit fun to compare it with the community. If you enjoyed this, send a link of the URL in the post mail to a friend and strike the bell button. Cheers and peace out.